Hey guys, welcome back to another football talk with Hawk. I tell you what, the Los Angeles Rams are a really good football team. They are a really good football team. And the way that Sean McVay can figure out how to get that offense to click and that team to click with the year that they have had, the injuries, the youth, and everything else. You don't want to play the Rams right now. Like, can we just be honest? The Rams right now would beat Philadelphia. They would roast that secondary. The Rams right now, to me, present one of the worst matchups for the Detroit Lions. The worst matchups that they could have would be the Rams. Now, for you guys, yes, I know it's Saturday. I'm reacting to the game that happened on Thursday. We're going to talk about some news in this one and probably keep this podcast a little bit shorter. I know I've said that before, but let's see what we can do about it. So, the playoff picture in the NFC had a big helping hand with Thursday night. Two wild card teams and technically a division team going at it, fighting for their playoff lives. Now, to me, New Orleans does not feel like a playoff team at all. Dennis Allen feels outmatched in almost every single game they play. He just, even against defensive coaches, he feels outmatched. You just don't believe Dennis Allen is the better coach than almost anybody they play. Like, I do not like Shane Steichen at all. I don't. A lot of the stuff that's gone on this year, the secrecy, the whole we have standards around here and people are going to be held to them. We're holding people accountable, blah, 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 blah. You know what? Tony Dungy did that, but the rules were clear and it was the reason why was always clear. One of our better safeties, Mike Doss, was warned, had trouble with drugs. Got suspended the second time, we cut him. Tony warned him, we're not going to have that on this team. But everybody knew why he was cut. Everybody knew why a player was cut that was a very substantial player for the team. They knew what was happening. It wasn't for no reason. Secrecy is the worst thing if you're an NFL head coach. Because if nobody knows why you're doing what you do, and you're not going to be truthful about what's going on, conjecture is the only thing that can happen, and right or wrong, you're going to lose. So I don't like Shane Steichen at all. But even in the Saints versus the Colts, I felt Steichen was the better coach. Dennis Allen just is not a good coach. New Orleans, I believe 100%, needs to move on from Dennis Allen if they want a chance to take advantage of the weakness in the NFC South right now. Listen, the Panthers have some pieces, but they're still going to be relatively bad next year. They may get to 5 wins, possibly 6, but let's just go 5 wins next year. The NFC South is bad. You can grab this thing by the horns and you can lead it again, and Dennis Allen is not the coach for you to do it with. So Dennis Allen, Saints take a big hit. They now have to beat Tampa Bay next week on the road, and they have to beat Atlanta at home for any shot at the playoffs. They have to do that. Now, let's go to some random news. I look around, I see different sources. I don't trust all the sources. I don't bring up a lot of random reports on this podcast for this reason. I don't want a bunch of I don't want a bunch of fly-by-night sources. I don't want a bunch of random things that got put up on the internet. It's not what I want. This one was on Sports Illustrated, though. The New England Patriots had deflated balls by 2 pounds on Sunday for the kickers only. The kickers only. What? Okay, please. Can't we just stop? Listen, the deflated ball thing, Deflategate. Come on, guys. The Patriots roasted the Colts that game, and let's be honest, it wasn't even close. And the Colts shouldn't have been there. Period. Period. Let's just stop getting all excited about nothing. I love the fact that we're sitting at this point of the season. We have as tight of a race for the playoffs with 3 weeks left in the season as we've ever had in football. But the storylines are deflated balls in New England, George Pickens not going all out. Now the new one that came out, this one we're going to talk about. We are going to talk about this one. So A.J. Brown of the Philadelphia Eagles came out and said that he believes something needs to be looked at for Monday Night Football. That game needs to be canceled. Now, 99% of the football community is immediately probably going to exorcist him out of their thought process. Because Monday Night Football is a staple, my friend. It is what we all grew up with. But let's turn the prism from the fan to the players. Let me talk this out to you. Let's say you play a Monday Night Football game. You're losing at least a day and a half of rest. A day and a half of rest. If you play at 1 o'clock on Sunday, your game is over by 4. You are resting by, from what we've seen, 8 o'clock, 8:30 that night. You are, depending on how far the flight is, I'll give you that one. Depending on how far the flight is. But by 8:30 that night, you're home on a Sunday. You're off on Monday. You come back into work Tuesday. Monday Night Football, you're not done till midnight-ish, 11:30, midnight, depending on how the game goes. And then you're not back home until 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning. You're off on Monday, but you're not waking up out of bed until noon, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But your body's not rested. This is Tuesday now. So now you're going to be doing a little bit of prep Tuesday night because you lost a day. Add this into it. You got to travel next week. You're playing on Monday Night Football, and then you're playing Sunday, a road game. You then have to travel Friday night, Saturday, whichever one the team decides. So now you're not at home, you're traveling. So you've got a day and a half left of rest on the front end. And now because you're traveling for that week, and yes, I know why I'm isolating out weeks, but for that week, you basically got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 3 days of rest and preparation and recovery and preparation to get ready for the next game. Let's just be honest here. Let's just talk it straight up. He's got a point. Now, we all know Monday Night Football isn't going anywhere. We know that. We also know that any team that plays in London, and to be honest, if the Bills had a do-over, I honestly think they would take this. Any team that plays in London has the option to then be on bye the next week. They say yes or no. The Bills, I think, would say yes this time. Colts said yes. The Jaguars said yes. I believe the Dolphins said yes. It makes sense. All it is a scheduling thing. Would 3 hours matter that much? I don't know. But what if you play on Monday Night Football, you don't play again until Sunday afternoon? Is there a perfect fix? Absolutely not. Because you can't just do a bye week after a Monday Night Football game. And I know, I hear it, it's like, it's the same thing as a Thursday Night Football game. The problem is, a Thursday Night Football game, you get off 10 days. Like right now, the Rams played on a short week. They beat the Commanders handily, and then just beat the Saints at home. They now have 10 days before their East Coast game against the Giants. That's different. We're not talking about you then get extra prep. Once you play on Sunday, you're back into a normal schedule. You only got 7 days until the next one. You're back into the normal rotation. There is no extra rest. That's what he's talking about. For the body, for the preparation, for the recovery, for everything that goes into this, it's bad. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Is it going to change? Probably not. Could scheduling change a little bit? Probably. But this could be an interesting battle if enough players get behind this. They're going to have to look at it. And I am with the fans. I want doubleheader Monday Night Football games. I really don't like Thursday Night Football. Amazon's made a lot of money off of it. I only watch the highlights afterwards because I'm not turning on Amazon Prime on my phone. It uses more data than anything else, and even though I can use it, Amazon Prime uses data like nobody else's business. They don't have their streaming service dialed in. It's really not the greatest. So I don't use it. But let's just look at it for what it is. This isn't Thursday night football. This isn't getting extra rest after you get back onto the schedule. Mm-mm. The Rams, they were home. So I like how the schedule played out for them. They were home against Washington and then had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then played a game Thursday night against the Saints at home. 3 days. I'll give it to you. But now they get 10 days. They get 10 days before they play football again. And I'll tell you what, Matthew Stafford's a family man. I know he is really happy that he has Christmas completely off. The reality is, if I'm Sean McVay, and he may be doing this, I have no connections on this, but if I'm Sean McVay, I'm telling the guys, listen, we just won. Come in tomorrow on Friday. I want to get a jump on what we're going to do against the Giants the following week. And then Saturday, Christmas Eve, Saturday, 23rd. Okay. Come in. We're going to do a morning session only. Everybody's out of here by noon. Want everybody here for 4 hours. We're going to do a quick run through. We're going to talk about some things of what we want to do. We're off Christmas Eve and Christmas. Bingo. I'll see you guys back here on Tuesday. We're traveling out on Friday. And the guys are going to be relaxed. They're going to be rested. They're going to be ready. The family men are going to be absolutely pumped. Their wives are going to be ecstatic. Daddy's home for Christmas. I do not like the Christmas Day games. Listen, I know there's some people that want entertainment even on Christmas and, whatnot. Christmas has always been my one day. Christmas is my one day. Why do we need anything? Everybody run the rerun of your Christmas episodes on your shows. Nobody needs to be doing any radio shows. Yes, some people still work, but a lot of places have decided we're closed. Why do I need to sit down and watch football on Christmas Day all day? Is it a nice thing? Well, yeah, I love football. Was it probably a lot better at the beginning of the year when people were thinking the Raiders could potentially challenge the Chiefs? And I don't know why they ever thought the Giants would challenge the Eagles, but nonetheless, that game doesn't make any sense to me. But hey, that's fine. But the reality is, look at where we are. On Christmas, 2 games currently have a 10-point plus spread. And then you've got your original Monday Night Football game that's going to be hopefully the game of the week. Dallas and Miami could be, but San Francisco, Baltimore is what we're all hoping will be. Let's just be honest here. Let's be honest about what's going on. The scheduling may need to be tweaked. So there is that report. A.J. Brown said that we need to X Monday Night Football. It's not going to be X'd. We all know that. But let's see what happens if they tweak it. You know that if enough players get behind this, there's going to be changes. And that may be the worst thing for the NFL. That may be the worst thing for the NFL. All right. So let's go to some of the player talk. College football. It's in trouble. College football is not in trouble because we're not watching. College football is in trouble because we are watching, and there's a lot of us that are watching closely and that don't want to deal with drama. So the best thing that could have happened for college football was Deion Sanders. I don't care if you don't like him. I really don't. Go ahead, don't like him. The guy made the sport popular. The guy brought the most ratings of a team that didn't win than any school prior to this. He knows what he is. He's calling you out, whoever you may be, because it ain't me. But he's calling people out for being uncomfortable with him being comfortable. The guy's polarizing. He's big time. He does take all the pressure off of the team. The team isn't scrutinized nearly as much because he takes the brunt. This is what I talked about when we were talking about older coaches that can come in and set the standards, set the culture, set the way that things need to be and protect the team. It's priceless. You want to know what else he's done? Deion Sanders went back to school to get his college diploma. Why? To coach football. It's a requirement. Guess who he just got to do the same thing? Warren Sapp. Now, love or hate Sapp, he's got lovers, he's got haters. I know. Love or hate him, he went back to school and he got his college diploma. He is now eligible to coach, and he is going to be the defensive line coach for the Colorado Buffaloes. College football is really intriguing to me right now because of this. Ex-players are finally getting empowered even more to do what we all know they can do. Eddie George is at Middle Tennessee State. Mike Hart has been a running backs coach for a while between Indiana and Michigan. You've got multiple college quarterbacks who are now quarterback coaches / offensive coordinators. It's becoming more experience built, which I believe, this is, I very well could be wrong, but I believe the more that happens, the less issues with the transfer portal you're going to have. And why is that? Because the guys that those recruits watched play there or play on Saturday are coaching them. Kyle McCord, you want to know how much this matters? Kyle McCord is transferring from a national title contender in Ohio State to Syracuse, who may win 8 games next year. I do like the transfers that they got. I do like some of the recruits they got in. I do. But McCord is leaving a championship contender to be with somebody he trusts and respects. That's not the same as Dylan Gabriel leaving Oklahoma, which, by the way, is now in the SEC. Confused there. And going to Oregon, who's now in the Big Ten. That's not the same. Dylan Gabriel's going from one good team, which is just good. Don't know what they're going to do in the SEC. We'll find out. To one team that's really good. They're deep. Oregon, to me, could easily win the Big Ten next year, which is funny. First-year rival could win it. Nonetheless, he moved up. Good for him. He's coming out next year. Fine. But players will start staying where they want to be when they get the connection with somebody they watched on TV, get a relationship with. They're not going to move. If that person is like Deion Sanders, Warren Sapp, and committing a bunch of time into them, a bunch of time and effort going into it. Trying to make men. This is what we lost. This is what college football lost. Mark Richt, Steve Spurrier, Jim Tressel, Lloyd Carr, Joe Paterno. Please remember when I say that, I understand what happened and I understand what took place, but I also understand that that was a rather long time ago. We're going off of coaching. Bobby Bowden, Larry Coker, Mac Brown is doing it in North Carolina. Guys that made men. Bob Stoops, Mike Gundy. His Cowboy players don't get in a lot of trouble. You make men. PJ Fleck in Minnesota, making men. Doesn't mean you win a ton. Mark Richt had that mantra for so long. I still think Mark Richt was a better coach than Kirby Smart. I know. Listen, Kirby Smart pulls in the number one recruiting class. Back then, Alabama was. Number one recruiting class wins the SEC. Surprised? Okay. So what? Mark Richt fought with Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer. Like Philip Fulmer. Okay. You got to understand why coaches matter so much. Having ex-players continue in the business that they helped create and promote is what the game needs. You don't want a bunch of nobodies. I was listening to somebody today and they go, the turnover with the revolving door is so bad, everybody's just trying to get the next leg up. Just get the next thing up. There's no contentment. Listen, the NFL takes care of everybody as a coach. Howard Mudd was an offensive line coach for how long? Tom Moore was an offensive coordinator and then offensive assistant for ever. They don't retire. They don't have to. They're respected. They're smart. You get your coaches now. Sean McVay, no nonsense. Coaches kids, coaches them hard. But he gets excited. He's emotional. He gets up with them. They're a younger team than the 49ers are. Kyle Shanahan looks a lot like his dad on that sideline. He is a spitting image of Mike Shanahan. But they help grow men. This is why the coach matters. Marvin Lewis took in a lot of battle. I really think Marvin Lewis' goal in Cincinnati was to get as many thugs and punks in there and change their outlook as he could. I really do think that was his goal. Outside of quarterback. Carson Palmer, Andy Dalton, not bad quarterbacks to have. They got the quarterback right. You got Chad Ochocinco, Pac-Man Jones, Vontez. Brought in all these guys that struggle. Sure. How many of them are struggling now? There is something to be said about it. Chad Johnson's wisened up. Yeah, he's still got a mouth on him. You're not going to take that away. Like, the reality is, we need college football to get those coaches in so that our NFL coaches can build on what was already there. There are a lot of NFL coaches that are having to start from scratch. They're coming in. The kid's been in 3 different colleges, never really developed, but he's been in the college football system for 5 years. But the guy doesn't know jack squat about what to do with life. So they got to teach this kid life because no coach was with him long enough to be able to coach him through it, to be able to get him ready. We need coaches that are going to make players want to stay with them so that we can build a really good, solid program of college football, a solid sport in and of itself. I don't like college football being I don't like college football being what it is currently. I don't. And I know I am old school and this is going to be a way out of quote unquote touch view. But if you're going to college, you're going to college. You shouldn't be going to college to play football. You should be going to college to go to college so that you have something after football. Give credit where credit is due. Deion got his degree. Sapp got his degree to coach college. All these quarterbacks that now are eligible for 5, 6, 7 years. I cannot wait for us to get away from the COVID year. Then the COVID year, medical thing is gone. We can go back to having 4 or 5 year quarterbacks again. It was either 4 year senior or 5th year senior. It just based off of red shirts. That's all it was. You were a redshirt freshman, which means you were actually in your 2nd year of eligibility. Redshirt junior, you're actually in your 4th year. Redshirt senior. We need to get back to that. If we get back to that in college football, We'll get back to a better product on Sunday in pro football because the coaches will then be able to coach them up, not have to just coach them to get the foundation. They won't need to build a foundation for them. They'll just be able to build on top of the foundation that's already there. Coaching matters. If you don't think so, just look around at who's having success in the NFL. Look at your top teams. John Harbaugh, Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, for all of his quote-unquote issues, Mike McCarthy. Do I think he's a great tactician with what he does offensively or in the game? No, I think you can outcoach him pretty easily. But give him credit, he wins, and he wins in both places. Green Bay, Dallas, got a Super Bowl. Can't complain about that. Just your reality. Coaching matters. The coach matters. Your coaches matter. College football needs to be a great product for the NFL. We have to get that up so that we can really sink our teeth in to these guys when they get in the NFL. They already know how to act. They know how to present themselves as men. And now we're going to give them this big cash bag, and they're going to be able to handle this a lot better, and we're going to have less issues. But I know this is basically falling on deaf ears because we all want flashy. I don't. I want good guys that can come out afterwards. I want A.Q. Shipleys. I want the Kelseys. I want Matthew Staffords, Peyton Mannings, Tom Brady's, Mike Hart's, Frank Gore. Guys that ran their time and then did it right. Derek Brooks, Levante David now for the Bucks. I so hope he goes to college and coaches. I so hope he goes to college and coaches. When you retire from the NFL, I love the idea of taking a year off. So many of these guys are getting offered the opportunity to be in the studio or in the booth and whatever, and I love that. But go coach. Not everybody can be a coach. I understand that. But I wish every player that retired, if they're taking a year off, take a year off, but then went back to college and tried to pay it forward. If it's not for you, after 2 years, you're done. You made a little bit of money on top of what you already had, and you move on. Peyton Manning has said he's not a great coach. But he has his Manning camp. He does coach. But it's something he's comfortable with. That's fine too. Tight End University, I think, is one of the best things ever created. I love it. We need the coaches. Coaches matter. All right, guys. That is going to be it for this podcast. Yes, it's something that I've been thinking about as we go into this whole carousel. We're in the final time. We are in the final times of the season. If your team isn't making the playoffs, your thought process is now two questions. Do we have the right football coach? Do we have the right quarterback? You're trying to answer those as the season winds down. You're trying to see what can be done. You're trying to see what's out there and making the hard decisions. Coaches matter. You're going to find out this offseason how much coaches matter. I hope there's somebody that takes a swing. I hope we see a movement, a mass movement of coaches in the NFL I think opens the door in college even better for guys to go back to college to help. Bill O'Brien went back to Alabama. Matt Rhule left Carolina, went back to college. Chip Kelly back to college. Pete Carroll was NFL, back to college, back to the NFL. Works. Jim Harbaugh, college, NFL, back to college. He could go back to the NFL. Urban Meyer evidently didn't work. Back to college. Maybe back to the NFL. The reality is the coaching positions matter all the way down. When you've got the good position coaches, it makes the coordinator's job easier. When you've got the good coordinators, it makes the head coach's job easier. Everybody works together, and coaches matter to build the team together that's made up of 53 men. The active roster, anyway. 53 men. It matters. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you're listening on Spotify, thank you for stopping by. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the like button if you would, please. It does help me out a lot. You guys, it's going to be a great weekend tomorrow morning. This is Saturday for you guys. Sunday morning, my picks will be out. I guess the Saturday games, listen, the only one I'm really outrageously focused on is the Buffalo game. I think Buffalo basically flat out smashes them. But we will do our picks for the rest of the week. Tomorrow morning, Sunday morning, I'll have my picks for the day. May do 6. I may only do 5. We've had a couple weeks. I know you guys already knew that I had the Rams. So Rams will probably be 1. We'll pick 5 more Sunday morning. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have an absolutely great afternoon. Until next time, this is Hawk, and I'm out.